Well, believe it or not, today is the halfway point of Code Platoon when it comes to actual curriculum. We're gonna have a week off for July 4th, but like this is really 50% of the way through in terms of the stuff that we're able to teach you. Um, the first half of the course was really meant to build your basics. So how do I script things inside of Ruby and JavaScript? What's HTTP? What are the status codes? What are get, post, and put requests? What's a 200 versus a 400 status code? Talked about databases. Like there's quite a bit of stuff that we covered. And over the next few weeks, we're going to be creating full stack web apps. And those full stack web apps are going to basically marry everything that we have together all in one thing. We're going to push off our retro for a little bit. Rod said he wanted to be a part of it, so we're going to wait for him to come back. So we're going to cover Sinatra today. And if you need me to slow down or anything like that, please don't hesitate to say anything because I will just keep going. All right, so Sinatra is a very, very simple, very, very easy baby framework. It's actually called a micro framework because it's just so basic. It just is the smallest amount possible that you need in order to set up a working website. We're going to learn Rails later, but there's a lot of files to it. Like there's 56 files, 56 folders, and 130 something files. So this is just an easy place to get started. We'll do this for the next 3 days. So I'm just going to create a quick file and just do touch. Tristan, almost done?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll just create something real quick. I'll just do maybe touch Sinatra.rb. I'm going to start using this new editor. We're going to teach it next time. I did not listen when somebody recommended using VS Code, but it is a lot easier because I only need 2 windows. That's the big thing for me. I only need one. I need 2 windows, one for my Chrome and then one for my code, and then that's it. So I'm just going to copy over some code real quick. Require Sinatra get Frank says. So let's break down the code that I had, and this is just Sinatra code. So we require Sinatra at the very top. If you don't have it, you're just going to do gem install Sinatra. This is great. I don't have to move to any other windows. So that's the first line. I'm requiring an external library. After that, anytime, and once I start this and get it running, anytime anyone makes a GET request to /Frank says, this is the result that's going to come as a result of it. So once this runs, I'm just going to run the app. This is taking so long. Okay, I don't actually need to install this because I have it already. So Ruby Sinatra.rb. And when I run it, you can kind of see this web server starts up. It's a Puma web server, and it says it's listening on localhost 4567. So if I go here and I just go to localhost 45, you can kind of see that something blows up. It just says Sinatra doesn't know this ditty, but there's a web server running. Which URL do I need to hit in order to get this text to show up? All right, so I'm here on the root page. I don't have /Frank says, so if I go to /Frank says, you can kind of see, put this in your pipe and smoke it. Very, very simple. That's a website. We're done. We can all go home now. If I want to change something, I'm just going to put this in whatever, put this in your whatever and smoke it. I'm going to change it here, save, go back and refresh. And you can kind of see that no matter how many times I've refreshed, even though I've updated what text I want to show up on the page, nothing is happening. Like this still is not, it's not catching that update. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to install another gem called gem install shotgun. Shotgun is basically the only way for me to get this over and over. So like if I update it, it's going to do what's called hot reloading. if in order to get this to update every single time I change a little bit of text here and there, I need to install a gem called Shotgun. Because what Ruby does is it loads it one time and that's it. It doesn't care about anything that you've ever changed. It doesn't reload for you. So I'm going to gem install Shotgun, which I already have, and then just run Shotgun, and then the name of the file, which is sinatra.rb. Looks like command is not found. I have to downgrade. Okay. Shotgun only exists in these Ruby versions, 2.4 and 2.1. All right, let me change my Ruby version real quick.
John, does bundle exec help you here or no?
I don't think it does because I don't have a gem file.
Oh, right, okay.
So if I do bundle exec shotgun sinatra.rb, it still probably won't run because it doesn't have a gem file.
Thank you. Is this because your bash profile isn't running in the terminal VS Code?
It actually is. Otherwise, I wouldn't have the colors. It's literally, I think it's just shotgun doesn't work anymore because we keep upgrading our Ruby version. Let's jump back to day one. Okay, so let's see, RBNV versions. Let's use RBNV Global 2.4.0 for right now. All right, now if I run Shotgun again, it's running at this point. I've changed the version to 2.4. It looks like Shotgun, it has not caught up to version 2.5 yet. And so I can easily just kind of jump back between different versions of Ruby. That was one of the things that we installed on the first day. And it says it's listening on localhost 1.127.001.9393. So all I've got to do is just change this port number from 4567 to 9393. And then it says, put this in your whatever nonsensical text and smoke it. And so I can just I can type anything that I'd like. Save it, refresh the page, and it automatically reloads. That's the difference between using just opening it using Ruby and using a gem called Shotgun to hot reload every single time. So unfortunately right now, this is a sucky website and returning static strings isn't terribly useful, but we can do a lot more with it. So I'm going to do something real quick. Let's show get/tomorrow or something. So we're going to do require Sinatra, and we're going to require the date library. I'm going to change this route here from /franksays to tomorrow. I'll do tomorrow's date equals date.today +1, and then tomorrow's date is tomorrow's date. Again, I've completely changed the entire file, but because I'm running Shotgun at this particular point, I don't need to reload anything. It's automatically going to hot reload for me. So just reading from top to bottom, I'm requiring the Sinatra library, requiring the date library that's built into Ruby. Anytime anyone makes a GET request to /tomorrow inside the browser, this first line of code will execute, which is tomorrow's date, a local variable between lines 4 and 7. It's going to equal date.today +1, which is today's date +1, and it's just going to print out tomorrow's date is whatever that is. We see this here. Everything is still broken because franksays is not there anymore. So if we go to /tomorrow, you can see tomorrow's date is 2018-06-09, June 9, 2018. So we're starting to see everything start to get married together. We got that require to bring in all the external libraries. We got that get request that we learned about last week. We have local variables inside of here. We have string interpolations inside of Ruby. All this is going to start coming together when we're creating things inside of Sinatra. One thing I want to point out is that all HTTP requests are stateless. Remember, we talked about that. It's like every single time I talk to, like it's the 50 First Dates movie with Adam Sandler. Every single time he talks to Drew Barrymore, it's like the first time. I visit Google 100 times plus a day, but every single time I make a request, it's as if it's a brand new request. They don't know that I've visited before. And the way that we can prove that is just having this bit of code here. And again, what you'll start noticing is over the next 6 weeks, everything that I'm saying inside of class is identical to whatever is inside of your curriculum. So you can read it if you're more of like a visual person, and you can listen if you're more of a reading person, or if you're somebody who likes to watch videos, everything, all the content is exactly the same. So this bit of code is also inside of your curriculum. Reading top down, require Sinatra, bring in the Sinatra library. Require date, bringing in the date library part of Ruby. Anytime anyone makes a get request to /tomorrow, I've set an instance variable now of date.today plus 1, and tomorrow is that particular date. And then if all works well, remember when I said if I have a instance variable, like with the @ symbol at the very beginning, I can use it any other place. Once I declare, I can use it anywhere. So if I visit /tomorrow first, and then I go to day after tomorrow, I have the local variable day after, which is tomorrow's date, defined here on line 5, plus 1. So the day after tomorrow should read 6/10. So let's see this. So I'm here on tomorrow. Tomorrow is 6/9. And then if I go to day after tomorrow, which is one of the greatest movies of all time, it blows up. It blows up. It says there's an undefined method plus for nil class in Sinatra.rb, line number 10. Especially the thing that's actually broken is day after equals tomorrow's date plus 1. It says there's an undefined method plus for nil class. So which thing is not defined? Which one of these 3 things is not defined? You got it. Yeah, tomorrow's date is not defined. Like this is seen as nil. So you can't do plus to a nil right now. And what you'll see with Sinatra, and especially with Rails, is these giant blow-up pages, and they're very, very useful. Like they will tell you exactly what line's broken, and almost all the time they'll tell you exactly what's wrong with it too. So upon quick glance, Sinatra RB, line 10, undefined method plus for nil class. There's a plus right here, which means the thing right before it is nil. That's what I mean by HTTP requests are stateless. Even though I visited this first, and I have tomorrow's date as an instance variable, when you take a look down over here, like because HTTP requests are stateless, it doesn't remember what the @ symbol is anymore. So if I wanted to keep track of, if I wanted to like reuse tomorrow's date another time, I probably have to declare it in a variable again. So I'd have tomorrow's date, and I would have to do it like this. So I go to /tomorrow, I have tomorrow's date, day after tomorrow, I have tomorrow's date, and then day after is the tomorrow's date plus 1. So if I refresh this page at this particular point, the day after tomorrow is 6/10, which is, since today is the 8th, that does make sense. What do you notice right away about the code that you've written? That we've written? What do you notice about what I've just done? So I have all this code. I can go to /tomorrow. I can also go to the day after tomorrow. What do you notice? Is there something that I can refactor? Is there code? I got repetitive code. This line and this line are the same thing. And when I see code that's being used over and over again, I don't want to repeat myself. Keep your code dry, don't repeat yourself. So I'm going to create a quick method. Since I'm using the exact same code twice, I'll just create it into a method. And then instead of this, I can get rid of all of this code. And instead of the @ symbol, I can just call the method. So whenever anybody makes a get request to /tomorrow, tomorrow is tomorrow's date. Because this method doesn't have the variable tomorrow's date, but you look down here and tomorrow's date is a method, it's just going to evaluate this and insert it over here. Same thing with this. What do people think? Everything look good? Should we refactor anymore? I'm okay with either way. Looks good to me. Another one that some people like to do is just put that day after plus 1 inside of here. It's up to you, and then they got rid of this line. But I personally like having this extra variable because then you know exactly what you're talking about. I mean, tomorrow's day plus one instead of day after. So let's see if this works. I'm gonna refresh. The day after tomorrow is 6:10, and let's just go to /tomorrow. Tomorrow is 6/9. Very, very basic. Like we're just building up very, very slowly at this particular point. So we have Sinatra, the date library. We have two GET requests, two routes that we can visit, /tomorrow and /day after tomorrow. And all it's doing is returning some basic text out to the screen. Obviously, no website, nobody in their right mind would actually have a website that looks like this. So we're going to start creating templates with HTML inside of it. Real quick, just to make sure that everything is up to date with your curriculum, I'm going to rename this file real quick to app.rb. And I'm going to kill this server and then run shotgun app.rb. So let's create some new files for Sinatra. Up until this point, we've been having responses that are just one single line of text, which is good for illustration and educational purposes. But if you're going to write a larger application, you need to be able to display more content out to the page. So I'm going to just copy and paste this code directly from the curriculum and just dump it in here. And let's see what we got. So we have line 1, requires Sinatra, bringing in the Sinatra library. And I've got a GET request to /federal holidays. So I've got a local variable called output. It's going to equal a string of list of federal holidays followed by a new line. I have just a bunch of dashes underneath it with another new line underneath and then 2 more new lines. I'm going to iterate over each one of the list of holidays and put it inside of the output. The list of holidays is just a giant array of different holidays that are federal. And if all goes well, I can just go to /federal holidays. And I've got this showing up. List of federal holidays, New Year's Day, MLK, Washington's birthday, and each one of them has a star right in the front of it. What do you notice? What would you, I guess, what do you think when you see this bit of code here on app.rb? Like, what do you think?
A lot of code.
It's a lot of code. Because app.rb is going to hold all of our different routes inside of it, if I had one for federal holidays, state holidays, city holidays, local holidays, religious holidays, and I put everything in one giant file, this file already for one particular page is 27 lines long. If I had 5 pages, I would have 5 times the amount of code. And you have to sift through all of this garbage in order to get there. So basically what I want to do is I want to render all of the code to show up, like that shows up, I want to render inside of a views folder. So under this Sinatra, I'm going to create a new folder. I think this is the thing for new folder, which is pretty cool. We'll call this views. And underneath views, we're going to create a new file called federalholidays.erb. I'm going to split the screen real quick. And now on the left, I've got my app.rb, and on the right, I have a federalholidays.erb. This is what our template's going to look like. I'm just going to copy and paste it inside of here. ERB stands for Embedded Ruby, which means that it's HTML code with Ruby put inside of it. So instead of like you copying and pasting all of these holidays, because you could add 1 or 2 over here, I have code that's executing inside of HTML that's actually Ruby code. That code you can easily tell because it has a opening tag and then a parentheses. I mean, that's not parentheses. Opening tag, percentage mark, and then a closing percentage mark and closing tag. Whenever you see that these signs with a percentage in the middle, you know that you're going to be executing Ruby code. So I could just do, basically what I'm doing is I'm surrounding all of the Ruby code, every single line with this opening tag and this closing tag. So this is really just holidays. If I could type each due holiday. And then I'm going to put a star with holiday and then end. This is just the Ruby code that's inside of here, but since it's inside of HTML, I need to wrap it with HTML tags. It doesn't run without it. So I just do opening, closing, opening, closing. And then the main one that's a little bit different is this little equal sign here. When I'm going to interpolate, like it's going to actually show up on the page, like this is saying I'm going to execute Ruby code, this is a Ruby code. But if I'm going to show something on the page, just add that little equal and then the closing tag. All I'm doing is wrapping Ruby code with these opening and closing tags. That's all that I'm doing here. At this point, I don't need to have all of this extra code inside of here. I'm just going to get rid of this and tell Sinatra, look for the ERB file called federal holidays, and I'm going to be passing in a variable. Like it's expecting the holidays variable inside of this template every single time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass them some local variables. It's called holidays, and the value of that is going to be the list of holidays right below. Let's just refresh the page and make sure that this works, and we'll continue on. Refresh the page, same thing, but I've cleaned up the code so that there's not so much stuff inside of this file, and most of it lives over here. Again, I have 19 lines of code now. Before, if I didn't refactor it this way, I have 27 lines of code. So I'm saving myself 8 lines of code and just a little bit of mental space so that I don't have to have everything in one giant file. Yeah, go ahead.
So when you're refactoring this, you decided to keep the list in the app RB and push out the function to the ERB. Is that usually how you would do it? Like if you had a ton of lists like that, would you want those in the separate file?
You probably would, yeah.
So would you just reverse it by putting, would you just keep passing it the other way to the same function?
I see what you mean. So John picked up on something. Like he said, all the code that you wanted to show went inside the views folder, but you have this giant list of holidays inside of app.rb. Like, shouldn't that go inside of a separate file as well? The answer to that is yes. We're going to get to that at a different point. Right now, I just want to do like small little bits before we start moving everything into everywhere. So short answer, yes. Long answer, we'll get to it.
Don.
Yep.
Wouldn't they be persisted in some sort of database? Like, wouldn't that finally be the database?
So the question, if I heard correctly, is like, wouldn't this type of stuff be persisted into a database and you're going to pull out from that database? Yes, the answer to that question is also yes, but we'll get to that as well. Again, I don't want to like just jump into like everything all at one time. So right now I just have a static list. It's also on the same page, but eventually this will actually just be calling from a database. Like I'm going to get all the holiday records. Who is not muted? I'm going to mute you, Sean. Thanks. All right. So now we've successfully removed our template, our view stuff from our application logic. And as of right now, we're just rendering plain text, but instead let's render some HTML. Just copy and paste directly from the directly from the curriculum. And let's see what we've got here. So it's an HTML document. Inside of this HTML document, there's a body. There's going to be a H1 tag, so the big header one at the very top, list of federal holidays. Horizontal rule, just a line that separates it. And then I have an unordered list. Every single unordered list, I'm going to iterate through each holiday, and instead of having just an asterisk, each individual holiday is going to be a list object. So let's take a look. If I refresh this is what it looks like before. Refresh it again. Looks a little bit nicer. List of federal holidays, one random line through it. And then I've iterated over every single one as an individual list element, and then it looks a little something like this. Any questions so far? So I guess, are we starting to see like everything start to come together a little bit? It's a little bit, it's pretty rewarding to start building applications like this and see the code that you actually write show up.
Is that / in front of every get statement?
Sorry, yeah, sorry, I had to turn up for Sean and then I have to turn down for you. Please ask that question one more time.
Is the / in front of every get statement?
This / is in front of every get, like this. You're saying this?
Yeah. Does it serve any purpose in life? Just there?
It's there because it is whatever your URL, wherever your host is. Like, so in our case, it's localhost 9393 / federal holidays. So that's that / right in front of it.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
So it's / federal holidays. We can take it out and see what happens. I don't know. Yeah, so it does need that / in the very front. All right, so let's add another action to our application. As it turns out, this list of holidays doesn't include one local hero to Chicago. So I'm gonna just copy all of this here and repaste it. I need this list over here. Again, reading top to bottom. You don't need this. Require Sinatra, brings in the Sinatra library. Whenever anybody makes a GET request to / federal holidays, it's going to say, hey, Sinatra, look for the ERB file called federal holidays under the views folder. All the views that you're going to create are under this views folder. We want to section everything out as much as possible. That particular template requires a local variable called holidays. And because this is just a view, it's very stupid. It's kind of like if you've ever received those form letters, everyone's received form letters in the mail. Dear name, like you have an account with Chase Bank. You know, it's like, it's that type of stuff. This is just a template. It's just like you just insert stuff, but so it won't print out unless it knows what holidays is. And that's what this local holiday thing is.
So, what is my question? My question is, so this is just, well, for right now, like if we wanted to like set up a link, you know, like if we're on the Chicago holidays one, if we set up a link to go back to the federal holidays, it's just pointed to the actual route, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know what question you're asking. I don't want to tackle it right now, but we'll get to that.
Okay.
You're wondering if there's a back button.
Yeah.
We can put one in. It's not an issue.
Yeah. No, well, yeah, just like, yeah, you answered it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So also, I've got this one called / Chicago holidays. Inside of Chicago holidays, it's everything like for Chicago employees. All of these holidays are legitimate. That we all get off for those particular days. But there's another day called Casimir Pulaski Day that we also get off for, I think. So we got Chicago holidays, which is a local variable just between lines 7 and 10. And that's going to equal the list of holidays, which is down over here, plus Casimir Pulaski Day. So it's just all of these things plus Casimir Pulaski Day. I'm going to tell Sinatra, hey, look under the views folder for something called chicagoholidays.erb. So I'm going to need to add one more here. It's called Chicago Holidays. Oops, I need to rename. .erb. I'm just going to put it here on the right side. Looks very similar to the federal holidays. List of Chicago holidays. Holidays each to holiday. Put it in a list, and let's see if this works. So I've got federal holidays. It has all of these over here. And now if I make a GET request to Chicago holidays, I get list of Chicago holidays, and right at the bottom, I got Casimir Pulaski Day. List of federal holidays, Chicago holidays. What are you starting to notice about these two things over here? It's the same thing. Line 1 is the same, line 2 is the same, line 3 is slightly different. Everything else is completely identical. like if we added some navigation, some JavaScript, some style sheets, like all of these templates are going to get really, really cluttered. They're all super similar. So what we're going to do is we're going to put all the common code inside of one giant thing. So I'm going to create, under the views, create a file called layout.erb, and it's supposed, and very specifically has to be named layout.erb. This is the thing that loads first before anything else. So I noticed there's a few things that are common. I got HTML, body, and HTML. Like these, I can at least cut out 4 lines of code. So I'm just going to put that inside of here. HTML, body, and slash HTML. At this point, I can get rid of these first 2 lines and get rid of these last 2 lines. Same thing over here. I can get rid of the last 2 lines and the first 2 lines. I'll clean a few things up. I'll move the spacing back a little bit. Same thing over here. And what's going to happen is whenever anyone loads anything, it's going to look for layout first. So I saved myself 8 extra lines by just putting it in this one file. This will load first, and then afterwards, I'm going to have something called yield. What yield does is it loads everything first, and then it yields its time over to the exact to the actual view file that you have here, copies and pastes that inside of here, and then closes it off. If all goes well, I can just refresh. This still works, and then if I go back to federal holidays, this also works.
What is the concept of the yield? Is that like that transferable to?
You can think of it as interpolation, like string interpolation, right? I've got a variable. So let's figure out what's going on here. So whenever I make a request, get request to /federal holidays, I'm saying, look at the federal holidays ERB file. Layout is loaded first. So this loads, then this, like these 2 lines of code execute. And then whenever it says yield, it's just interpolation for all of this code, copy and paste, and then closes it off.
Okay. And that layout file, that's just something that Sinatra just looks for.
Layout is actually a yes. Short answer, yes. Sinatra looks for layout every single time. It will load that first. Rails will also do that. I'm fairly certain most JavaScript frameworks also do that. The concept is like, if I go to any web page, right? Like if I go to Amazon.com, look at the top here, and then we have all of this code, and then Fire TV Cube, and then the footer at the bottom, like this giant block of code. No matter what I click, like let's say I want to get a cute chopstick holder with canvas because I am Asian. I have the same thing at the very top over here. This is exactly the same as the page before. This middle section changes, and then this, if I can ever get to the bottom. This is an infinite scroll. This is not a good example. Let me look at one particular thing. But you can kind of see this line of code is still the same. This block of code is still the same. This stuff in the middle changes, and if you look all the way down at the bottom, if I can ever reach the bottom, this footer stuff is also the same. So why would I create a HTML file with so much repetitive code over and over again? I know this will stay the same all the time. I know that this will stay the same all the time. So instead of typing that code in every single page, it's going to load the layout first. So has this top line, then this bit of code, then it yields its time over to whatever page this is. And then after everything is yielded, I come down to here. I know that the footer will be exactly the same again. That's the whole idea behind it.
And then back to your text editor, the app file, the locals, and then the like object that you have, and like yeah, like what is that doing? The locals, is that just like a key value thing that's going on? Pretty
much. So whenever I make a get request to /federal holidays, I load federal holidays, the ERB file. We said that this layout is loaded first. loads this thing, and then yields its time over to the federal holidays. It yields its time over here to the federal holidays ERB file. Now, if you look inside of here, this particular federal holidays.erb file has a local variable called holidays. And similarly, like when you receive, like when Chase prints out a whole bunch of like you owe money on your credit card, they don't write it directly to you. They print out a whole bunch all at one time. It's a template, right? So it says dear first name, and they're just grabbing the people from the database and shoving it in its place. So it wouldn't say like dear first name. It says dear whatever your name is. Because this particular ERB file needs a local variable called holidays, it doesn't know what holidays is. If you don't pass it in, like here on line 4, it doesn't work. So that's what I'm saying here. This locals variable is basically saying, I need to pass in local variables into here. The one that I need to pass in so far is holidays, and the value of that is list of holidays down over here. It's a way to pass this giant list of holidays into this particular view. All right, we're almost finished with this, and then we'll get started. Let's create a new file. When we're working with applications, a lot of times, like I said, the web is one giant form. The entire internet is one giant form. I challenge you to think of something on the internet that's not a form, like in terms of functionality of things that you need to do. Fill out the URL at the top. It's a form. You're interested in buying something on Amazon. You want to look up something like a pin cushion. It's a form. This tiny little thing is a form because I'm posting something over to Amazon. If I want to add something or I want to enter my credit card information, it's a form. And with that, we need to grab a lot of information from users a lot of time. So let's say that we wanted to, let me get rid of all this. And I'm going to delete the views folder. Okay, so now we're just left with app.rb. Let's say I want to make a bunch of requests like I want to greet the person by name based off whatever they passed in inside of a form. So I obviously cannot do like hello Emma and hello Olivia and hello Sophia and Isabella. Like I can't have one URL for every single person because I would have an infinite number of URLs, and then I have to manage each one of those individual ones. So I need a way to manage that user input dynamically. And I'm going to do that right over here. Let's read what we've got. Line 1, require Sinatra. You're always going to need to require Sinatra at the very top. Get/hello/:name. This is strange. This is the new thing for us today. So what we're doing is anytime anyone makes a request to /hello/whatever this is, and we'll talk about that in just a second, this is the code that executes. Greeting, local variable, equals hello, hola, bienvenido, and I don't know what this is, .sample. So I've got 4 ways of saying hello. I'm just going to sample one of those and put it inside of greeting. The name is an important one. So this is just a local variable called name, and it's going to read into the parameters of your URL, and I'm looking for the key called name. So what I can go to /hello/Jonathan/Tristan/ Ed/ like Marvin, it doesn't matter, whatever I type, it's going to save that as name, and it's just going to greet me and say hello name. Let's see if this works. Just going to go to hello and go to Rod. So I go to this thing, so /hello/Rod. I can pass in whatever I want inside the URL, and it's saved into a thing called params. I'm going to grab that name because it's the last thing over here, save it as name, and do greeting, whatever that name is. I can refresh this page. It'll give me a random greeting for hello every single time. I can change this to James with a capital J, and so it'll say hola James. I can change this to Michael in the back. I can change it to whatever I want, but whatever is passed in here is saved as name under the parameters. Any questions on this? All right, let's create a quick form for this. I mean, not a form. Let's move this out of here since we want to have everything as a a separation of responsibilities. I'm going to create a new folder called Views. Again, it's going to look for a folder called Views every single time. And it looks like I'm going to open up an ERB file called hello.erb. Split the screen real quick. I don't know any of the shortcuts yet. I'm not very good at this. And all I'm going to do is anytime anybody makes a GET request to hello/name, I'm going to load up the hello ERB file. It looks like I need to pass in a greeting, and I need to also pass in the name. And maybe we'll just write some quick HTML code. Maybe an H1, welcome to my site. And then maybe we'll do an H2. And I want to interpolate the greeting and the name. What is the code that I need to type? How do I interpolate Ruby code inside of HTML? John?
Caret, near code going on.
You.
Caret,
percentage,
and then I don't think you have to close it until the end of
sure.
this line.
All right, I'll just do it for now.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. And then you're welcome to my site. I can't really see.
Okay, so this is. Oh, you want me to change it to a lighter color?
Or just, is there a way we can turn off the lights for the class? They all go on.
It's up to you. You want to do that?
Thanks. There we go.
All right. So how do I get this to interpolate greeting, like with the greeting and the name? So I know that I have, this is the way to interpolate, is the way to execute Ruby code inside of HTML. But how do I?
So we still need to do our double quotes.
Okay.
Yes.
Nope.
No. Equal sign.
Equal sign.
Yes. Okay.
I think that's it. So in H1, welcome to my site. And then in H2's, greeting, and I'm interpolating, so that's what I've got this here. The comma is going to show up on the screen no matter what, and I'm going to get this name out.
Could you have done greeting and name in the same interpolation?
You cannot do it on the same one. Let's try it. I don't know. So you mean, let's see if this works, and then we'll try yours. How's that? I'm going to go back over here. Welcome to my site. Hello, Michael. All right. So we know that this one works. So you said, can we just do greeting like that?
Essentially, yes.
That'd be nice. I don't know. Nope.
Okay.
Yeah. It looks like that every single time that you interpolate, you do have to close that off. And then every single time you interpolate again, you got to open it up. Hello, Michael. Hello, bienvenido, Tristan. What language is this? Is this French? Spanish? Oh.
It's welcome, it's not hello.
Okay, welcome. Okay. All right, let's continue on. We're going to do, I'm just going to keep the names of the files the same thing. I'll just. Okay. So we got require Sinatra. Every single ERB file is going to have a format of HTML5, so we don't have to have that doc type right at the top every single time. Anytime that anyone goes to /greet, I'm going to load up the ERB file called greet. With that, let me delete this file. I don't need this anymore. And create a new one called greet.erb. What does ERB stand for one more time?
Embedded Ruby.
Embedded Ruby, that's correct. I'm going to grab this quick form, and we'll read through it. So we start off with an H1. It says, hey, I want to know your name. Then I have a giant form. The form, by default, like whenever you fill out something on the internet and you press enter, it posts because it's sending new information over to the web server. I'm sending a post request to /greetback, and then it just says like your name and then the submit. So whenever I fill out this form and press the submit button, it's going to post to /greetback. Oh, we've got that covered over here. Anytime that anybody says, anytime that we get a post request to /greetback, I'm going to grab the username from the form, and then I'm going to load up the new ERB file called greetback, and then have that over here. So it looks like I probably need one more file called greetback.erb. Great, it's nice to meet you, name. And I'm passing the name in from this post request. See it work, and then I'll explain it one more time, or I'll have someone explain it for me. So I'm here on 9393/greet. Hey, I want to know your name, and I've got a form. Poop is my name. I'm going to hit the button, say hey. Once I hit that, it makes a post request, and it's like, great, it's nice to meet you, poop. James, explain everything that just happened.
I would not be able to do that.
Okay, Ed, explain everything that just happened.
As far as what?
Let's can you tell me what's happening if we were not able to see this over here? Walk me through all the steps that we would need to take, like starting with /greet. Okay, pass. Tristan. John.
All right, from top to bottom,
Okay.
first you're requiring Sinatra.
Okay.
And you've got your setters up there. The first thing you're really doing is getting the greet
Okay.
URL, which
All right.
is coming from the ERB, greet.erb.
So I've got this over here.
Yeah, so we go over there. Its form method is post, and the action is greet back. So it's going to input the placeholder. Okay, so name, username. There's a form there for inputting that.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to spit that greet back to back to there, and then it's going to post greet back, which is in that file that you're just looking at. Or are you? Which one is this app.rb you're looking at right now?
Yeah.
It is, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So then it's going to post greet back with the name is the username that it just got, and the ERB, I guess, is just it telling it to go to greetback, ERB. And then it's going to say H1 in greet, then what does that say?
It's nice to meet you.
What's before it's nice to meet you? Is it
It's a P tag.
Okay. It's nice to meet you, Ruby code name.
Yep.
So it just took name from the original input form on greet.
Yep. Yep. So that's exactly correct. Just one last time before we get off and do this on our own. Line 1 requires Sinatra, brings in the entire Sinatra library. All the functionality that Sinatra gives you is in this one line right over here. This line 2 here is basically making sure that every single ERB is an HTML5 instead of writing HTML. You'll notice at the very top I don't have HTML anymore, and closing HTML and body and things like that. This one line of code takes all of that away from me. Anytime anybody makes a GET request to /greet, I'm going to load the ERB file called greet. And every single ERB file is under a folder called views over here. And that's what Sinatra is looking for by default. Greet.erb is right over here. H1, hey, I want to know your name, and then a giant form, the small form that honestly just looks like this. Hey, I want to know your name, has a placeholder of your name, and then a button that says say hey, which is the submit button. That's all this is doing. So you can type in whatever you'd like inside of here. And the moment I press the submit button, it's going to post to /greetback. Now, if I come back over here to my main controller area, I have a post request to /greetback. This particular, so whenever anyone submits this code, submits something on the form here on the right, it comes back over here. Name is a local variable. I'm going to set that equal to params username. That username is this thing right over here on the right side on line 3. After I get that name from the form, I'm going to look for an ERB file under the views folder called greetback, which is located here. And I need to pass in a few things. I need to pass in some local variables, specifically the name. The value of that is this name here on line 9. And all this does is greet you back and say, great, it's nice to meet you, whatever you typed in. So there's that, I made it a get request to /greet. There's that form I talked about. Press say hey, it posts to greet back, and then it loads up a greet back ERB template that says, great, it's nice to meet you, and then whatever you typed in over here. Sinatra is fairly simple once you get into it. And since everyone is back today and we're like back to normal, today will be a pairing day. Once I load this up. We have 2 challenges for today. My first thing before I would recommend you guys starting to pair up with one another is to go through this entire tutorial one more time on your own. Try not to copy and paste as much as I did and just type it out. It does help a little bit with your own memorization of like what you're typing rather than just copying and pasting and trying to read. I copied and pasted it for the sake of time. So I'd recommend going through everything over here. And we've got 2 challenges here all the way at the bottom. Again, you can kind of see everything that I have, that greet and greet back, all the code that I copied over from today is here inside the curriculum. Look down at the bottom, we got 2 assignments. One's credit card and one's secret Santa. Credit card's a fun one. Essentially what you're gonna do is you're going to create a website, and that's basically going to say, is your using the algorithm that you may or may not have written from week 1, called the Loon algorithm, you definitely wrote it again. Using that algorithm, create a form where somebody enters their credit card information, and when they hit submit, you check, is this a valid credit card number? And if so, I'm going to return, yes, it's a valid credit card number, and it's a Visa type, or it's a Amex type, or a Diners Club, or a MasterCard. Another one is Secret Santa. Secret Santa is fairly simple as well. I'm going to have a bunch of names on a form. You're just going to enter as many names as you can, and then you're going to pair each person up like a Secret Santa. To see what this actually looks like in the end, let's see if I have one from the old days. Pull request from Echo Platoon. I'm going to go with Raymond's. Let me clone this down so you can kind of see this in action. So we've got, this is, how do I open? Sean, do you know off the top of your head how I open, I don't want to do code space dot because that'll open a new window. Is there a way I can open whatever I'm currently looking at up here? Sean's not there.
Sorry, I'm here.
Okay.
I didn't get what you meant.
So right now, if I've CD'd into Sinatra credit card, and I usually do subble space dot, which opens a new window for me. But since this is already open, is there some sort of thing that I can type in so I don't open it up in a new window? Because I can do code space dot, but then you can kind of see I opened up a separate window. I just want to open it up right here.
Yeah, I don't know how to do that.
It's fine. All right, so let's take a look at what we've got. So I'm here under Sinatra credit card. I've got app.rb. I'm just going to run shotgun app.rb. And I'm going to go to 9393. So localhost 9393. And I've got a / credit card. I'm going to have a check my credit card. I've got my credit card number up here. I'm going to enter a credit card number of random things, submit it. and it's going to run through your undefined card provider as valid. That's bad. That's probably incorrect. But essentially what you're going to do is you're going to enter that credit card number. You're going to press submit. Let's get a sample valid Amex number. Let's say, okay, we'll grab all of this right here. 4111111. So 411111111. Submit. Your visa is valid. So it can detect like what type of like credit card I'm actually entering. Let's try it one more with a Amex card or something like that. So let's grab this. I'm going to throw it here, get rid of this spaces in there. Copy, paste, submit. Your American Express is invalid. So it can detect one is your, I think their algorithm is incorrect. It can detect one, what type of credit card is being input, and two, if it's a valid or invalid credit card number.